Good morning, good day, or good evening to all of you that have joined our call. Today, we're super excited to introduce our US multi-unit financing programs, spearheaded by Tony Kettering, an industry veteran with over 20 years experience in this space. It surprises me every day how many of our clients own 20, 50, and the most we've ever seen is 400 homes owned by one family office in Asia. Getting financing for these is very difficult, till now, of course. Consistent with our company ethos, we take something that's difficult, opaque, and stressful, and we've made it easy, transparent, and hassle-free. I will let Tony get into the specifics, but let's do a quick recap of the mortgage market in the US, as well as a reminder of GMG's capabilities. Now, it's no surprise rates are still at historical lows, and mortgage requests are at all-time highs, and we don't see this abating anytime soon. In fact, just from GMG's standpoint, we have nearly gotten 1,000 loan applications since February. Now, GMG was started to bring US loan programs directly to borrowers overseas, that is US expats or foreign nationals. Over the years, we have grown into offering commercial, multi-unit, bridge, and development financing, to name a few, as well as similar mortgages in the UK, Canada, France, Australia, and where we live in Singapore. So if any of you or your friends or colleagues or acquaintances are interested in any of these, please have them contact us directly at hello@gmg.asia or just go to our website. Now, let me introduce Tony Kettering, who will introduce our multi-unit financing programs. For this webinar, we'll keep it casual, and I'll ask some questions for Tony to answer, and of course, we'll open it up to Q&A after. So Tony, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, and then we can start with the Q&A.
Sounds good. Thanks, Donald. Good to talk to all of you who are on here. It's morning where I am. I think it's evening where Donald is, and wherever you are, good morning, good evening, good day. My name is Tony Kettering. I live in California, and I work with GMG, spearheading the specialty lending, which is basically portfolio, multifamily portfolio loans. And I help people basically figure out a way to simplify the loan process when they have multiple properties, and work primarily with foreign nationals, what in the States we call foreign nationals. And so happy to be here with you guys to talk about what we have to offer.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony, for that introduction. I guess let's start off with the basic question. What is a portfolio loan?
Portfolio loan is where you say you were to buy some single families. Say you bought 6 single family residences for rental properties in the United States, and you could do 6 individual loans, but a portfolio loan would be you do 1 loan for the 6 properties, giving you the opportunity to have 1 payment and lower the underwriting costs on the entire portfolio, and a way to manage your portfolio that makes it not such a daunting task.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess having 1 lender for all of them makes a lot more sense than having 6 separate lenders to deal with.
Exactly.
Now, I guess that leads us to a second question. Now, who normally uses these portfolio loans?
Portfolio loans are used by investors. Many people will, start buying properties in the United States with cash, and they put money, cash, say they get up to 10 or 12 or 20 units or whatever it is, and they say, I'd like to expand. And so what they'll do is they'll look for lending, and they might do a cash out refinance on their portfolio. Say I've got 20 properties, and there were 10 million, and I want to get a loan so I could buy some more properties, for instance. Then I would take out 60%, generally speaking. We can get a little bit higher of that cash from the property to buy more properties, and we can facilitate with both the refinance and the purchase of the new, or the acquisition of the new properties.
Interesting. I mean, we see a lot of that demand from Asia because folks out here are buying these similar to bonds, they're income generating properties, and the fact that GMG can get them leverage, it enhances their cash yield on this. Actually, more often than not, people are surprised at the quality of the yields, rental yields in the US. And then tell
Comparison
the
to other
audience.
markets, I hear that the yields here are much better than most other
Yeah.
markets. So many, like I've talked to people from multiple nations about their portfolios and help them with their portfolios because they're getting better yields here.
Yeah. And what are some of the rates that we normally are seeing for the portfolio loans?
The portfolio loans, if it's, say between $1 million to $2 million, it'll be in the fives. It could range from the low fives to the high fives, depending on the number of properties or the size of the portfolio. And then if you get above 2 million, the rates go down into the fours. And I've seen, we had one $7 million loan on a portfolio that was 12 million, and the rates were in the high threes. But the rates you could expect for most people, they'll have a portfolio that's worth between $1 million to 2 million. It's going to be in the fives, low fives generally.
Interesting. Well, sounds pretty good. And like, what kind of a loan to value or maximum leverage can one expect on a portfolio loan?
60% for foreign nationals on a portfolio loan is generally what we offer. There is a couple capital sources that might go to 65%, but 60 is a good general starting point for what you can expect. Some people leverage less depending on how much cash they need to buy new properties or to rehab the properties they have.
Well, if you can get 70% leverage on a 5% yield, that's almost 10% leveraged return, which is not too bad in this environment. Now, for folks out here who have kind of, properties and they want to use our service, what kind of properties do you put into a portfolio loan?
Generally speaking, we're taking a portfolio of single families. Maybe there's a 2-unit or a 3-unit or a 4-unit, and that's what people will put into a portfolio generally when they're buying in the U.S. And most people that are buying portfolios in the U.S. are buying properties in kind of the Midwest cities and towns where they can get good bang for their buck or high yields, high cash flow yields. And so generally I would say single families, 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit. We do offer multifamily as well, and we also offer financing for assisted living or care homes. But that most people would do a single family with 2, 3, 4 units.
Interesting. Okay, cool. And I guess people are going to be interested in the process. So what's the process like for a portfolio?
It's pretty simple. The borrower would get in touch with us, and we would talk to them a little bit about what they have, what their needs are, and we will send them a spreadsheet. They basically put their properties into the spreadsheet, whether it's refinance or it's an acquisition, and we take that spreadsheet and we go to our different capital sources and say, here's what we got. What can you give us? What quotes can you give us? And we generally let them know that there's multiple people bidding on this, so that they're going to get the very best terms. They know that they're up against other capital sources, lenders. And at that point we get a quote, and then we talk through the quote and the fees. And then if the person financing the portfolio likes the quote, they get an application, they fill out the application. That starts the underwriting process. We're underwriting not on income, we're basically underwriting on the asset. And so you don't have to qualify on the income. It's more you're looking at the assets to do the loan.
Awesome. Now, I think for those of you in the audience that are new, I think one of the things that we have to understand is our strength is that you can't, if you're sitting in California and you walk into Wells Fargo, they're not going to give you the breadth of choices that we can, because we're in contact with lenders in all 50 states who are also lending in all 50 states. So we have a bigger selection of lenders to choose that best fits the borrower's needs. I guess these are pretty straightforward. You have an asset that generates cash flow. But in terms of questions, I think that pretty much sums it up from my standpoint. I don't know, Tony, if you want to add anything that you think is important, or
there's more lenders out there that will do a portfolio above $1 million than that will go below $1 million. We do have a couple sources that will go down to $250,000 on a portfolio. Minimum number of portfolio properties in a portfolio would be 3. But the best terms are generally above $1 million in a portfolio, but we can go down to 250. So just kind of the scope, and we've seen them upwards of 10 million as well. So there's all different sizes of portfolios, and basically there's no bad questions. So the best thing to do would be to reach out to us, ask the questions, and see if we can help you with your portfolio, and we'll answer your questions and be really honest with you and transparent of what we can and cannot do.
So we have a few questions. I guess the first one, I mean, Tony, should we just jump right into some of the Q&A?
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. So we've got Mr. Schwartz. Do you work in all states, including Michigan? Well, yes, of course. This product is, these programs are available in all 50 states. The next question is, for cash out refinances, what is the minimum loan to value of a property? I just purchased in cash my first property, $55,000, looking to refi ASAP. Right now, generally speaking, lenders are really shying away from any loan that's below 100 or 150,000 US. So in this case, why don't you reach out to us and see if there's ways that we can help you. Tony, do you see the question from Mr. Younger?
I don't see the question, so if you could ask.
Okay, sure. So as a portfolio loan, can I combine assets both on my private name and my LLC?
The only ones that I've done is where it's in an LLC or multiple LLCs. I haven't seen it as an individual. I believe the qualifications for most of these lenders are you have to have a U.S. LLC and a U.S. bank account. So I haven't seen that or been able to finance that in the past. So I would say get an LLC for every property, or get an LLC to put all of your properties into. But again, I've seen 20 properties in one LLC, and I've seen a portfolio with 20 properties and 20 different LLCs per property.
Wow. Okay, cool. And from the same attendee, how long typically does the process take?
The process, generally, you get a hold of me, we discuss quotes and stuff. That's going to take a few days because I've got to vet it out to the different lenders. And after that, once we get the application in, it should take about 3 weeks, depending on whether or not you can get us what we need on the properties and the appraisals can be done. So if you have a lot of properties, we got to make sure all those appraisals are complete. The underwriting time takes less time than the appraisals, that's for sure.
Okay, good. Next question. I've got $200,000 to invest. Most of the properties available in our area are 2-family homes. Is this a portfolio loan possible for buying 2 properties, basically 4 units?
For us, for our qualifications, our capital sources, we don't have any loan available under $250,000 or 3 properties in a portfolio. So I would say the minimum amount would be 3 properties and $250,000 loan amount. That's going to bring you up around $400,000 of value.
Okay, got it. And this is a returning Mr. Schwartz asking the same another question is, what's the minimum value? 250,000? Yes, I think that's the minimum that was mentioned earlier. Does the portfolio, is it required to be an LLC? It's not, but is it preferred, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's initials SH. So it is preferred to be in an LLC. And in terms of the terms, Mr. EG, are these 30-year or 5-year fixed? What generally are the terms on these?
I'll answer that one, and then I saw one of the questions I want to answer as well. The terms generally are 10 years. We can do 5 years, 10 years, and we have one lender that will go up to 30 years. The terms are generally 10 years. That's what most people take. I saw a question there, it looked like Miss Trinidad, who I actually know from Hawaii. She has a 312 unit apartment complex. Can we finance that? And Chi-Chi, good to see you again. And yes, we can finance apartments.
Okay, great. What's the minimum time to repay a loan? I guess that's, I guess loans
That
are
would be
repaid
5
on,
years. 5 years is the term. All these loans generally have prepayment penalties. So the lender basically makes their money by you paying interest over a period of years. So there's prepayment penalties for getting out early, but if you sometimes get a little bit higher rate, you can get a more advantageous prepayment penalty if you want to, sell any of the properties within your portfolio, or you plan on exiting out of that particular portfolio sooner.
okay, cool. And from the same client, potential client, do you need a credit score or not?
Say it one more time, Donald.
Do you need a credit score?
You do not need a credit score to do a loan in the U.S. And that's the great thing about, we're in all states, and we have foreign national programs. So they know, what a foreign national program is. And so basically we're underwriting on the asset, and basically you got to have enough liquidity to be able to take care of the assets.
Got it. So here's a question from an existing client, initials DL. Now, how do rates and LTVs differ for a portfolio loan for properties held in an LLC versus a portfolio held directly in a person's name?
The rates, well, the first thing is we're only doing right now loans when the property is in an LLC or a corporation. So I haven't done one as an individual, but the rates generally don't change. Like for customers here in the United States, if they're doing it as an individual or an LLC, the rates don't generally change because of being in an LLC or not.
Got it. I believe this client is a U.S. citizen as well, who initials are DL, and we can get back to you. He's a good client of ours. Client initials RL. Lending to an LLC, which owns the properties, makes it a corporate loan versus an individual, and more expensive rates. What type of cash flow history does the portfolio have to show to cover the mortgage? So I guess the first question you just answered, right? The rates don't really differ too much from a LLC versus individual.
Correct.
Right. And the second part of that question is, what type of cash flow history does the portfolio have to show to cover the mortgage?
The DSCR, debt service coverage ratios, generally need to be about 1.25. It's generally not that one, meaning that you cover by 125%. That generally shouldn't be hard to do because your loan is only going to be a 60% value, loan to value. So nobody's really going to have that difficult of a time covering those cash flows. And they, on the spreadsheet, they'll want to see, what your HOA fees are and what your other fees are for that property. So they'll help you calculate that. We'll help you calculate that.
Got it. And another a client from earlier asked, is the loan only fixed?
Fixed rate. Most of these loans are interest only. The 30-year program does have a principal and interest option.
Okay. Here's a client, Mr. A.
The rate is fixed, though. Yes, the rate's fixed for the period of time.
That's right. So yeah, just to answer that. So another question is from Mr. A.B. I bought a unit in cash, current market value around $200,000. I'd like to sell this unit to my LLC in order to generate cash for a down payment on the next purchase through the LLC. Is this possible, and do you support such a transaction?
That's not considered a portfolio transaction. You definitely talk to Donald about that one. That would be an individual transaction. And for the portfolio loans, we don't go below $250,000 in loan value. So I would say get back to Donald on that one.
Sure. And last question from here is from Mr. A.S. Do you need to have a U.S. bank account?
Yes, a U.S. LLC or corporation and a U.S. bank account are mandatory to be able to get financing is in a portfolio.
Okay, so for example, so if you can you make mortgage payments from a bank account overseas directly to the lender, or does it have to go through a U.S. bank account?
It's going through a U.S. bank account.
Got it. Okay. I guess that's. Do I see any more questions? Hold on. home for now.
I saw one, what's the minimum property value? The minimum property value per door, so say in an apartment, it's generally like 60 to 80,000 depending on the different lender, value per door. So say you have an apartment building, and I think the question's about an apartment building, you'd have to just basically take the value of the entire property and divide it by the number of units in the apartment building. We can
All
get
right.
exceptions on that on a good property, like, you know, down to 60,000. I haven't seen it as low as 50,000, but I've seen as low as 60,000. But I think, Chi-Chi, I think you're in Hawaii, so it's probably a lot more than that.
All right. Can you imagine buying a home for that type of price? I think for those of us in Asia, can't even get a driveway for that amount of money. So I think the U.S. offers a really good value in that regard.
Yeah, some of the portfolios have lower values and loan amounts when they go to like a city like Detroit or something, which is in a kind of a redeveloping area.
Got it. So listen, before we answer more questions or we log off, I'd like to ask everybody online. I think we've got a record number of attendees again for this webinar. If you could go to and click and like our Facebook page and follow it, and more importantly, our YouTube page called Global Mortgage Group. And you'll see all of our webinars and, you know, some other videos that we're doing as well. Is that it for everybody? I think we're going to wrap it up. Well, listen, for all of those of you that have dialed in, thank you for your time. And also, more importantly, Tony, thank you for dialing in at such an early time of the day. And we look forward to working closely together and helping our clients overseas with their multi-unit financing or specialty lending needs in the U.S.
And I just wanted to say thanks for being here with us on the webinar. And if you do have any other questions specific to your particular transaction, feel free to get in touch with any of us through the Global Mortgage Group website.
All right, so let's wrap it up. And there's a few questions that just popped up. I'll answer them directly after this call. Good night. Well, goodbye, everybody, and I look forward to being in touch soon.
Aloha.
Aloha.